Hold the line, please. We're waiting for the ambulance to answer.
And I think somebody was underneath the car.
Try and stay calm. So
They sent an ambulance right away.
There's been a lady knocked over on Essen Road.
I think there's several people ringing all at the same time. There's about 50 people here. It's such a confusion.
All we were thinking was, how fast was he driving in order to be in a situation like this? Well, someone shouted and said someone underneath, and she was literally like squashed underneath the car.
Sarah, is she breathing?
We need the ambulance license now.
Sarah, I've asked her if she's
The
breathing.
car's wiped out the front end of the window and then hit the woman.
There's people trying to move her.
Sir, is she breathing?
Can you tell if she's breathing?
We actually thought that she was probably gone.
We're en route. We're coming on blue lights and sirens. Okay, we're travelling.
You have a scenario where someone is actually run over with a vehicle on top of them. One of, if not the most chaotic scenes I've ever arrived at.
She's breathing. Yeah, it's a lady.
Does anyone there know this lady?
We found a purse.
Right.
I'll just have a look inside.
No problem.
Mrs. Monika Lewandowska.
So we're talking to people, has anybody witnessed anything? Does anybody know, most importantly, who the lady is?
En route to the hospital, she deteriorated quite significantly.
There was not one person within that medical team that was telling us that she was going to survive.
Very lovely woman, smart, very helpful, very strong woman, and it's my mom, and I love her.
She was a joyful person, very joyful person. She liked to have fun. She liked dancing.
Monika's marriage didn't work out. At the age of 38, she left the industrial city of Łódź to start a new life in Darlington in the northeast of England in 2013, leaving her two daughters back home in Poland with her mum.
She went away for work because at the time in Poland it was not easy to find a job and people didn't earn much money. So she decided that she would try her luck out there. But that was only one of the reasons, because she also wanted to sort her private life out after her divorce.
Po rozwodzie.
33-year-old Lewis Heslop had asked to borrow a car from a friend he was drinking with. Despite being told he couldn't, he took it anyway.
Oh yeah, can you send an ambulance right away, please? So Thornton Street.
There's a car crash in Essen Road.
Heslop was 3 times over the drink drive limit when the vehicle ploughed into Monika.
The car's wiped out the front end of the window and then hit the woman.
We all surrounded the car, everyone lifted up on each side, and I think there was 2 or 3 people that were sliding the woman out, not to hurt her, not to pulling her up, but like slowly so that she didn't actually damage herself even more.
We're en route. We're coming on blue lights and sirens. Okay, we're travelling.
Over time, working alongside our colleagues in the ambulance service, you get a very good sense of the severity and the seriousness from their demeanour and their manner. And straight away you could tell from the way that they were working on this lady that this was a grave and serious situation that she was in.
Is she conscious?
No, she's not. Don't move her.
When we arrived, she was clearly had some form of head injury. En route to the hospital, she deteriorated quite significantly. At that point, we were well aware that this head injury may be much worse than first feared.
He admitted causing her catastrophic injuries and was given a 4-year sentence. He was charged with causing injury by dangerous driving and driving with excess alcohol. He was already banned for a previous drug driving offence.
I would just say that the driver was known to myself and quite well known to my colleagues, quite frequently in contact with the police for various bits and pieces, not specifically driving offences, just lots of things over time.
It's heartbreaking to think she's here from Poland. She hasn't got anybody around her. Her loved ones are miles away, and not one of us expected to survive, not one. My intention was to get Monica's family to the UK as quick as I could, and we pulled out all the stops to get them contacted in Poland. We got them flown over to London, we got them taxied up to James Cook Hospital, and being a mum, I would want my mum. You would want to be there, wouldn't you? And we had to do that. Like, despite anything, who doesn't? What would Monica want? Would she want her mum and her daughter to be at her bedside when she passed away? Yes, she would. But we did that. We managed that, and they wanted to be there with her at her bedside. But what they didn't want was her to die on her own. And Monica's mum asked me to stay there when the machines were turned off. And she didn't die. Monica clearly didn't want to give up that fight there and then and stayed alive.
Monica's life would never be the same. She was being given specialist nursing care, and her family made frequent visits from Poland to see her.
I wanted her to speak to me. I was coming to see her and I was telling her, "My little daughter, please say something to me, speak to me." However, I heard her laughter. I would talk to her and tell her stories about the old times. I would joke with her and then she would laugh, but she never spoke.
She was able to breathe on her own, but wasn't aware of what was going on around her. And she subsequently underwent assessments, which determined that she was in a minimally conscious state. So that means she has a very reduced awareness of what's going on, but some limited awareness to herself or to the environment.
Her legal team ensured she received a high level of care.
Monica's Polish personal assistants became not just carers but friends to Monica, and they really went out of their way to think of ways that would stimulate Monica. One of those was to sing to her in Polish, which she really enjoyed. And luckily for us, one of her personal assistants could play the guitar, and quite often Monica's breathing would become a lot more settled. Sometimes she would shed a tear when she was listening to the singing, and it really helped calm her. It's really upsetting to see how much those little things that you or I might take for granted made such a big difference to Monica.
Considering he'd destroyed Monica's life, Heslop's light sentence never sat well with many in the police. But 6 years after the crash, Natalie found herself right back on the case.
It was a Friday afternoon. I was sat in the office. I remember it was really stormy weather outside. I don't even know if I remember that now. And the phone rang, picked up the phone, and it was the coroner's officer at Sunderland, asking if anybody in the office knew anything about a lady that might have been involved in a collision back in 2016. And there was a bit of silence as she was trying to find the lady's name again. And she said, "It's a lady called Monica. I think she got hit by a car back in 2016. I'm just looking for anybody that might know about it." And that phone call just shocked me and think, what's the likelihood that I've dealt with the job back in 2016 and then the coroner rings and I pick up the phone and she told me that Monica had died in hospital at Sunderland.
I couldn't say goodbye, and nobody can even imagine the pain that this causes me.
It changed my life. It changed it for the worst.
My initial instinct was, we need to investigate her. If she's died as a result of that road traffic collision, this is now a death by dangerous driving. Yeah, we might be a number of years on, but we're not going to brush it under the carpet. We're not going to ignore it. I need to know whether Monica died as a result of the road crash.
She gave me a phone call at home to tell me that Monica had sadly passed away. She followed that conversation up with her determination and adamancy to take this back to court and to ensure that justice was done for Monica. She wasn't happy with the original sentence. She was very frustrated that we could only prosecute Mr. Heslop with serious injury by, and she was determined to take this back through the courts again. I was very sceptical at whether we would be able to do that. It's something that we would always wanted to do. You know, we wanted to see justice done, but this is something that had never been done before, never been attempted by anybody, and Mr. Heslop had served his sentence. He was back out on the streets and he was living his life. This was a very unique and rare situation. Yeah, we'd certainly never done anything like this before. We didn't even know whether we were going to get anywhere with it, but we were determined to try. Natalie was certainly determined to try. We had to start the ball rolling. The first step of that process was to go to our Crown Prosecution Service and explain to them what had happened. And they came back that, you know, they're willing, through again Natalie protesting, that justice needs to be done.
She just contacted me and said, we've got to do something about that. Can we have a chat? Can we sort it out? And it just went from there. Given that Lewis Heslop had already been prosecuted back in June 2016 out of the same set of circumstances, so in order to re-prosecute him again, we needed the consent of the Attorney General.
In a highly unusual move, permission was granted to re-prosecute Heslop, but now the police needed proof that the crash was the cause of Monica's death.
One of the main things we had to do, and we knew we would have to do it, was to take Monica's brain for specialist examination. Fancy telling the family that. And we did all them phone calls that weekend.
It helped a lot, because I must say that it hardly ever happens. That somebody should care so much as to make sure that this man is brought to justice. Justice is too big a word, but he's brought to court again and he's punished to face the consequences of his actions.
A case like this, with the chain of causations, is very clear between the massive head injuries that she sustained in 2016 and her eventual death 6 years later in 2022. There's nothing that undermines that. It starts with massive brain trauma, which she survives, but in a severely disabled state. That makes her particularly susceptible to infections. When she sustained the trauma, she was relatively young and she was fit. There's no reason for her to die at the age that she did. It was established that she had nothing else on board. She had no natural disease that could have played a role. There's no indication that medical management was inappropriate or missing. And the eventual death due to an underlying infection is a direct result from her having sustained massive debilitating brain injuries.
Heslop had served his time for causing Monica's injuries. He'd gone on to re-offend. He had numerous shoplifting offences and was arrested for possessing a knife. After being sent back to prison, he was told in his cell that he was being charged with causing Monica's death. Given the weight of evidence against him, he pleaded guilty.
Monica didn't deserve what happened to her. And I only want to do this for her. She isn't here, is she? She isn't here to fight her own corner. She never has been. She doesn't even speak our language. But we are here to fight for her. And I think we have.
With the process now nearing its conclusion, and before Heslop is sentenced for killing Monika, the police travel to Poland to meet her family.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Yeah. So we're in a position now where we just are waiting for the final outcomes. At no point has he said he is not responsible for killing your mum and your daughter. And I'm guessing to bring some closure from the police being involved in your lives.
I have one question. What can be the maximum sentence he can get?
I would say the sentence is really complex. It's one of the only cases we know of in the UK. His sentence that he's already served for the charge back in 2016 will play a part of this sentence. We are working, as you well know, to do our best to let you as a family be able to be included in that sentence next week.
He should get the maximum penalty possible.
And we know that penalty just won't bring Monika back.
I know that. I'm aware of that. They don't have a mother, the children don't have a grandmother, and I don't have a daughter. And this is the worst thing that can happen to you when you need to bury your own child.
Your mum, your daughter, should have been safe that day. She'd done nothing wrong. And she could have been safe to walk on that footpath that day. So we have to bring justice for that person, for Monika.
I'm getting married in July and she won't be there.
Tomorrow is Mother's Day.
We visit her in a graveyard.
And she will not come to visit me. So thank you for thinking about my daughter.
A lot of hard work, a lot of emotions. It's been really difficult, it's been really challenging. It's been a first for me and a number of my colleagues, but to get here makes us feel proud. Despite the outcome, we will still have the conviction and hopefully it'll bring some comfort in some type of form for the family.
Monika's family watched via video link as Heslop was jailed for 3 years, 11 months. He showed little emotion.
That is a really positive result for us. It'll never bring back a loved one, it'll never bring back a family member, but what it does show is that we're still here, we're being resilient, and we will always work towards getting people sentenced appropriately for any road death that we come across.
I will tell him that he took away the most precious thing a mother can have. I have her close to me. I can visit her every day. I talk to her.
The woman who told me everything and showed me the world. The bad one and the good one, who told me that I can make mistakes, but I can learn from them and solve my problems.
The pain of losing my mother has been unbearable until this day, and I think it will always stay with me.
She would have been a really wonderful grandmother, but they will never get to know her. And the stories that I tell them are just stories.